Hi, my name is Michael Richmond. Welcome to the first episode of On the Sideline. This is our first episode of 2023, and with us today we have a very special guest. We're talking about Guyana's most decorated domestic coach, Mr. Wayne Dover, former national head coach of the men's senior team, and now the head coach of Guyana's youth under 20 men's football team. So without further ado, it's going to be a fun talk. We're going to ask some very good questions that we're going to dip into the life of Mr. Wayne Dover. So Mr. Wayne Dover, without further ado, thank you for being with us here today at the Big Smith News Watch. It's been a pleasure.
A pleasant good morning to you, a pleasant good morning to the viewer, and thanks for having me on this program.
Yeah, so for the viewers, for the viewers to know who Wayne Dover is, do you mind like dipping into yourself for a bit? Let the viewers know who.
Well, Wayne Dover is a humble individual who came from the Leopold Street working Ross area and has grown through a period of many troubles and trials and managed to stay on the side of the law.
Yes, a serial winner, many may say, despite, there's always going to be the naysayers and there are always going to be the ones that, congratulate you. But to me, a serial winner, or let's say Guyana's most decorated domestic coach winner. So let's just go through the One Guyana Cup. This is your recently, the accolade that you won just January the 1st. How was that experience for you?
Well, the One Guyana Cup was a new experience, and I think it was a very good initiative, giving to new stuff to the football fraternity.
Yeah.
What we as coaches, right, and I'm dealing with the national coach, the national senior staff.
Yeah.
We have been given an opportunity to see a wide cross section of players across the length and breadth of Guyana.
Yeah.
And this offers us a lot of chances to visit games, scout players for the purpose of the national team. So I think with a tournament like this, once it continue as the intent is great, we can always tap into many players who don't have the chance to be seen from playing in the domestic tournament in the various regions.
So how do you feel about local coaches and also every administrative region being fully involved in this new football concept? I must admit it will take some getting used to.
Well, one thing I know for sure that this gives many coaches an opportunity to coach now, right? Because when we spoke about region, every administrative region have their domestic program. And if those coaches are selected from those programs to coach these regional teams, then you suddenly a new cadre of coaches emerge. And then that argues well for the pool of coaches nationally.
Okay, that's great. So then, where do you see football heading from here?
Well, I heard the president of the nation said that 2026 is the
World Cup. the expanded
focus, right.
World Cup,
And the fact that he placed emphasis on that, along with the president of the Guyana Football Federation, we can safely say we will be heading in a direction where the sport can grow much bigger, much more attention is given to it by corporate government and fans alike. And this is a situation that we always, yearn for. And hopefully everybody cash in and, come on board and move this sport in the direction that it long overdue to be.
But we're talking about a World Cup that is going to be the next 4 years. This is 2026. And what do you think is needed, locally? Not just pumping in monies and these sort of things, but let's talk about facilities. How do we manage to get, facilities of a certain level, before the next, basically in the next 4 years or before, preparing for our next World Cup?
Well, one thing I know for sure is that the Guyana Football Federation has a facility that any form of training could be conducted, whether rainfall or sunshine. And I've just learned, in fact, I heard on the news that the sports director, Mr. Steve Linval, has mentioned that the Lenora facility is under construction or repair or something to that nature.
Rehabilitation,
And once that is that has started, we know that the emphasis has already started to be paid on facility upgrade. We cannot get we will not have the best facility in the world in just 2 years' time. But we as coaches being trained to understand how to maximize the use of what is before you. So we will try to do our best to ensure that we maximize the use of where there's 2, 3, or 4 facilities to bring the team to a level that could compete at the next level.
So let's just go back to you for a second. What does this actually mean to you personally to actually win the first ever President's One Guyana Cup?
Well, it means a lot because this is the inaugural One Guyana Cup. And in the next 100 years from now, our name will be there, right? So it was very important for us to win this inaugural tournament, given the fact that it will be an annual thing. History would always say that Coach Dover coached the first champions of this tournament, and that is a proud moment for me to know that I placed my name in the history book.
Going back to the squad that you had, it was really a rough final for you. We're talking about a very, what we could say, a very disciplined Region 3 team. But going down, I always wanted to ask this question, going down 1-0 in that first half. How did you manage? I know we've seen some guys made some very, mini errors during the game, that cost you guys the goal. That could have probably cost you, the tournament. Some may say the fact that hadn't Region 3 gotten that red card, it probably would have been over for Region 4 because it would have been, a complete 11v11. Some may say. But how did you manage to keep your troops well organized and well grouped?
First of all, I try to get the players to understand they not to become emotional about any situation that unfolding. They not to allow the fans to determine what they do and how they do things. We've made our preparation and we had our game plan going into the game. You use a word that you saw a well-disciplined Region 3 team. And I like the word because had we had been as disciplined as we had wanted to be in the early stages of the game, it might have been an embarrassing results. Because what I saw as the coach is we move away from our plan despite creating so many chances and not converting it. In the run of play, one of our players who we would have already spoke to about not being caught in possession was caught in possession, lose possession, and on the run of play they scored, right? But having watched the remainder of the half and analyzing, I was never in fear about us not coming out on top because we had created enough opportunity to score, and it was just our conversion rate was 0. But once we see one of the problems that occurs on the pitch that allows us not to take control of the game, we made that adjustment at the half. And then we saw in the second half a different situation where we took control, and it was just a matter of time because we started to probe and look for the opportunity, and then it came through a free kick. But the red card situation, there would always be yay or nay about that situation. But for us as coaches who look into the game, we would know whether red card or not, the amount of opportunity we created. Had we started to score from early on, the game would have been lopsided. But scoring 2 out of the many is enough to take us over the line.
A lot of local supporters, they say that this is an unfair Georgetown team. And it forces me to look back at the team, and I say that it is a very perfectly balanced team. Because at the same time, the likes of Colin Nelson, they're in the team to offer, you know, that guidance to younger players like Jeremy Garrett, to Marcus Wilson. Daniel Wilson is going to offer advice to guys like, you know, Rishan Rich and these guys. So how important it is for, you know, for you as a coach to have a team that is well balanced with youth and also with experience.
Yeah, well, that is very important, and I like the observation whereby you pointed out at least 2 senior players who were there to help shepherd the lads home, because it's a team that is mixed with experience and youths. And while many of the older players are not that old, but the years that they are playing the game give them the title to be the grandfather.
Yeah.
And initially when we get together, I discussed with the guys them that I'm not here to teach them to play football.
Yeah.
I'm not here to go through technical stuff. We're here to find a way how we want to play, and I need the older folks along with many of the others to help manage this group. It's not going to be, it should not be managed by myself and the staff alone, right? And they undertook that challenge and they did it well. Hence you see the results from the many games that we played, because the Colin Nelson, the Daniel Wilson, the Akel Clark, the Jeremy Garrett, all those guys, the Curtis Kelman, took the mantle and led. And that lead to discipline, commitment, and you name it what. That is why we had the end results in a positive way.
So with the recently concluded the President's One Guyana Cup, do you think that enough recognition is given to local coaches now?
Well, yes, and that is something was looked at from the technical department of the Guyana Football Federation. The technical director, he was there on spot, and he had a very good look. The head coach of the senior national team saw all the games, and I know that many coaches came under the radar, right, in terms of assessment being done to see how they manage the situation. And you know, we had some positive out of it, because for instance, a young coach like Vola Mills, who came in at a critical stage with the Region 19, you saw a transformation of that group. Unfortunately, that group did not progress, but as they progress out of the group stage, it might have been a different situation altogether, you know. So that is one high point in the many coaches that was on display or who are exposed. We had Devon Winter went to Region 8, and despite whatever came out of that, we saw he assemble a group and had them play to what he wants them to play to, and that is important. You see, the fans would more look at the results, but we as technicians, we look at the actual organization and the execution and things like that. They also had Curtis Joseph from Bartico Region 7, and Bartico, while people dubbed them the Cinderella of the tournament, they have shown where, you know, more of these type of football could bring them to a level to compete with the likes of Region 4 and Region 3 and 5 and teams like that.
So this is a very good question for you. How does, or is there any way that AC Milan, the Italian giants, contribute to your coaching style?
Well, no, I would say no, because as a young boy, I always like watching football, and I fell in love with AC Milan, and at that time they were a rampant team in world football. 3 Dutch men play at the time for them. But my love for coaching, it was not a natural thing for me to gravitate to coaching when I was a player for Beacon. At the age of 27, I decided to call it quit from football and decided to stay at home. And one of my colleagues, them time, come to me and said, "Hey, the club don't have a coach. Let us, you know, come together and keep them going." And at that time, Dr. George Norton was the president of the football club, and he encourage us, and I just decided to stay along with the club, assisting, and then I was appointed the head coach, and from that moment, I started to make a commitment to the job that I'm doing, and that is how I grew in coaching. I subsequently was given an opportunity to assist Nady dos Santos to the senior men's national team, and I took that opportunity, and that is where everything went the way it goes.
It's funny actually that when results doesn't tend to go the team's way, the first person that they're going to attack is the coach. It is, I was going to say, coach, your system could be wrong, perhaps your system could be pitched right, but it just didn't happen to work on that day. The first person that is going to be attacked is the coach. Forced me to ask this question: how do you keep younger players, I reiterate, how do you keep younger players motivated even without playing? Let's say, for example, Darren Niles, he's had a good year, 2022, Trinidad and all these domestic leagues, he's been performing superbly. How do you manage to keep him, a player of his caliber, motivated, by not, he ain't getting the start as much as you want to, with little means that he getting, gonna count, but how do you manage to keep a guy like that motivated?
Right, so in a squad that laced with quality players and young emerging talent is part of that squad. The first thing you need to do is let them understand that they need to fight for a spot in the team. And once they understand that, because nothing comes automatic, they would know that it's a competition to get into the first team. However, when the coach make a decision not to include one of the younger players in the first team, what we do hope is that the first team played well, scored a lot of goals, so that we could give that opportunity to them in the latter stage of the game with less pressure. So once they are introduced into that fold, then you find they be happy about being in the group, because we also ensure we let them understand there's an objective, and the objective will be achieved by all of us and not one or two. So I think that played a part in helping to motivate them from not being first choice, but being involved and helping contribute to the results and things like that.
We've seen you growing stage by stage. You've seen we in Dover. You've seen Wiggy move from Alpha, and then he keeps moving. Now he's at Police, and then we've seen you emerge some years ago into the national system as a national head coach. 2 stints with the senior team, one being 2009-10, and the other being 2017-18. How was the exposure for the national? How has the exposure for the national team been for you?
Well, unfortunately, our system in Guyana does not be accurate in recording the history of the game. And something I think we gotta get to, because I say that because of the fact you said 2 stints when basically I would say 3 stints. Because I was appointed back in 2005 as the head coach of the senior national team. And then I left and went to Trinidad and worked with Caledonia for a season, and I returned in 2009 and was reappointed head coach. And I think when Jamal came back at 2015-16, after he left, then the current administration of GFF had appointed me the interim head coach, 17-18. So basically I would say 3 stints, right? But it was a remarkable and a marvelous experience for me as an individual, a young man. Being involved in international football, I get a chance to learn the rigors of that kind of competition, because it's a environment that you have to understand what you're doing. Because there's no room for errors at that level. And we had some of our best players during those years, and working with them was a joy, you know, as much as many things were said about many of those guys in terms of discipline and thing.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed a good work relationship with those guys. So I can say, you know, it was a period that I relish to this moment.
I alluded to Darren Niles earlier, and this is why I asked about him exactly. But now you're the national youth coach. You're in charge of the bunch that is probably one step away from making it into the national senior system. How do you manage to keep these lads grounded on the bigger task?
Right, so again, it's like, you know, knowing they have a responsibility at the junior level, performance is the key.
Yeah.
Right? And once they perform, right, it's easy for the transition into the senior team. So we tends to work with them and give them the opportunity, despite they might not be a full-fledged member of the senior team.
Yeah.
We invite them to the senior team.
Yeah.
And we allow them to be a part of it. And then when is a downtime from FIFA international games, we try to organize training games, international friendlies to expose these lads. So all those things, you know, give them the motivation to want to continue to challenge for the spot in the senior team. So that plays a part in keeping them happy.
I guess that is really something good, because we've seen the emergence of Omari Glasgow, who was at a superb 2022. If I can recall, he has been the highest goal scorer in the senior setup last year. If I'm right. I think he had 8 goals.
Yeah, I think he scored a couple of goals, I can't accurately say whether it's 8 or not.
You see Nikolai Andrews. And you see Marcus Wilson.
Yeah.
So I guess the system that you guys are already putting in place, we're actually beginning to see it bear fruits, which is really, really good.
Yeah, and the GFF must be commended for the academy program they introduced, because Omari and the Marcus Wilson and those guys as part of from the youth academy setup. And it just Darren Niles and all those young fellows came through the youth academy setup, and that was an important period to have that academy running, so that these lads could be taught the fundamentals, right? And that helped in terms of who they are today and where they're heading to in trying to break down the door of the senior team. We've already saw, as you mentioned, Omari already enter through the door.
Yeah.
Darren Niles and the others are knocking on the door, and we got to keep them motivated by having them play regular, so that they will not, you know, deviate from the objective of getting into the team.
Great. And lastly, it's been such a good show to this second. I mean, me coming on to my last question, it makes me feel like, you know, there's so much more that we can actually talk about. But coach, how do you manage marriage? You know, also manage and coaching in the whole. I mean, fatherhood and marriage is something else. But heading out to coach young men who lacks fatherhood and other basic domestic needs must be something challenging, I guess.
It is the biggest challenge we as coaches face in our life, because a football coach's Guyana is everything.
Yeah.
He's the father, he's the priest,
yeah,
he's the police,
yeah,
he's the brother, he's every single thing. And why I say that? Because in our setting, we pray together.
Yeah.
So we become the priest.
Yeah.
In our settings, dealing with young kids, you might have instances where people trouble something from somebody.
Yeah.
Then we become the police.
Yeah.
Right? And we became the father also, because we have to father them. We always have to find some kind of finances to give to them to travel home, to ensure that they're home, call the parents to ensure they reach home safe, sometimes even take them home.
Yeah.
So we as the coaches in football in Guyana, we is every single thing you could think about. So it's a very responsible role we play in the society, right? And because we were grounded as young men, we see where is important for us to provide the leadership.
Yeah.
I myself grew without a father.
Yeah.
But I had leadership from Coach Gordon Braffett, who led us during them times since from the age of 12. And one of the things I take away from what he said, just one, but many things I took with me when he told me as a young boy, Coach, Wiggy, them time, Wiggy, as you grow and you get a girlfriend, ensure your father, your children with one woman.
Yeah.
Don't get them scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
Because it is difficult for a child to raise with his parents in two different places.
Yeah.
And he's one place and the father here in the next. And I took that with me. And to date I can safely say I fathered 3 children with one woman.
Yeah.
And that is my wife, Diane. We're together since we were, if you want to say children. She was 15, I was 18.
Yeah.
And since then to present, we live together, live a peaceful life, a respectful life with each other. We raise our children together. I literally told her not to work, to pay attention to the children. That's because of the experience of seeing how people treat other people's children when there's not around.
Yeah.
And now sometimes I feel hurt in a way because my children gravitate to the mom more that they to me.
Yeah.
They form more conversation with her. It hurts in a way, but I feel joyful in another way because I can see they are friends.
Yeah.
And basically she has no other friend but her children and myself. So I would say being a married man for 22 plus years, it's something that I enjoy, and I would implore that many others find a good woman and live a life of peace and enjoyment. Look at your children, raise them the way you want them to be, support them, because it's only a year ago I moved out from Lepo Street, Cross Street area. I born and grew there, and literally all my children raised there.
Yeah.
Just the last one who's 15 born around the area. What I can say safely is that we can come out to the ghetto.
Yeah.
We can have a different mindset from the ghetto mindset.
Yeah.
Because none of my children had brushes with the law at no point. And they live within the confines of the law.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wanted to speak with the lads around there, but it's a challenge, it's a danger, because sometimes people see things different. They might say, he's a old man. We could tell me now that he passed through here and you get a little gold spoon. Because that's how they would see things.
Yeah.
But I plan to go back and help in that environment, because we just lost another lad. I don't know what is the circumstances, but I mentioned to a friend yesterday, we gotta revisit the name of the street, because the history told us that King Leopold from Belgium during colonial times killed 10 million African people.
Wow.
Right? So I wonder if this street has a name after King Leopold, and that evil just overtake that place.
The environment,
So, you know, it's a good case study to look at to see if renaming the street is a good thing to do to rid it of this kind of situation it faces. But in a nutshell, they still have good people who came out from there. Because I had my colleagues, Julian Benjamin, who played for Guyana, he's from there. Otis James, who became a FIFA referee, from there, and many others. So we could do it. And just to end, right, in regards going back to the football, just as was achieved with the Region 4 team and the many teams before, I am now with the Police Football Club. What a great institution in terms of what they want to do, to embrace a relationship with the wider community
Yeah.
We have to, the people have to cash into this.
Okay.
There is many players there who have family, right?
Yeah.
That need to come out and support the Police Football Club. They meant well for the community.
Yeah.
Because they could have at least said they don't want civilians to be a part of the settings. But they have so many, and we need the wider community to pay attention to what they're doing and help work with them. Yeah. And I plan to work tirelessly to put the Police Football Club on the top of football in Guyana going forward. Wow. So I know I'll need the support from not only the institution administration, but the wider community in supporting the police effort in bridging the gap between them and the community.
A man that relishes the opportunity, every opportunity so far, winning the inaugural President's One Guyana Cup, to even going on to make 3 stints with the Guyana National Senior Men's Team. Also, relishing the opportunity also of coaching the youngsters in preparation for the senior team. What's at stake? I guess only coach can answer, but a general reform is probably something that he has in mind for the Leopold area, to uplift youths and also to take them out from the ghetto, but not exactly from the ghetto, but their mindsets. I am so pleased to have Mr. Wayne Dover here with me today. It's been such a very wonderful conversation. We at Big Smith and we on the sideline intend to follow, his moves in creating a new reform within the Leopold area. We definitely intend on doing so. I must say, On the Sideline has come to an end, and again, I must say thank you to Mr. Wayne Dover for being here with us.
But if I could leave one last thing, is to say the many times your mom literally wrestled with me to take you in as a player. That when I came here this morning and I saw you, I felt so proud that this lad that I saw and his mom fight with me to get into football is in a different direction, being a law-abiding citizen, and literally could be here interviewing me today. I lost some words, put it that way. But it's a pleasure to me to literally sitting here and being interviewed by a little guy I know coming up.
I usually end the show with a joke, and I'm going to end it with one. I remember there were so much times that Mr. Wayne Dover would just pass us while he going to buy bread elsewhere. I was like, man, I used to play football. I like football. This man would not buy from me. I used to always wonder why. But I mean, it all got to do with, support and loyalty.
Loyalty,
and
exactly.
That's the most important thing in life. So, thank you again, Mr. Wayne Dover, for being here with us. It's such a privilege for me to have you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure,
so
brother.
Much.
Thank you so much.